lessons that are easy to use and implement, and focus on some of the most important topics in today's society: bullying, dementia, special needs, relationship issues in 55-plus communities. These 4 topics are the focus of the Different Like Me Culture program. For more information, call 561-270-2280 and begin your pro-action approach towards these major challenges in our community. Call 561-270-2280 today and get started. Now, here's your host, Alyse November.
Hi, I'm Alyse November, your host of Different Like Me Culture, where we create a world where empathy rules. Today we're joined by Danielle Zimmerman, founder of Abby's Place, and I'm going to tell you a little bit about Danielle. The topic of today is we're going to talk about special needs, but we're going to talk about it from a mommy perspective. So if you have any questions about our topic today, if you're a mom dealing with a child, or not dealing, we all deal every day, but if you have a child with special needs, if you have any questions for us or any comments, please feel free to call in. Our number is 888-565-1470. So let me get back to what I was going to tell you a little bit about Danielle. She just has a little wonderful inspirational quote here. She says, "A mother's journey into the unknown world of rare genetic abnormalities, endless doctors' visits, financial, emotional, and physical turmoil becomes an inspiring story of education, reality, determination, and vision." And just speaking with Danielle now for a very short time, I could tell you she is a mama on a mission, and not only a mission to help her child, but to help the world or whoever she could touch. Danielle became a mom, and not just any mom, the mom of a daughter with a rare genetic abnormality. The life that Danielle once knew as a wife and pre-med student was now a vivid memory. Danielle's life was transformed into a researcher, advocate, lobbyist, caregiver, teacher, therapist, and trainer, all while holding her daughter Abigail's hand in her quest to taking her first steps. Danielle faced doctor after doctor, and the prognosis was the same. Abigail was never to learn nor progress. When Abigail was 3, Danielle enrolled her in the public school system, where she was placed in a developmentally appropriate setting. Danielle envisioned her in a stimulating environment surrounded by teachers and therapists, as well as other children who had special needs like Abigail. Instead, though, there were too few teachers and very little stimulation. That day, Danielle vowed to homeschool her daughter. Through trial and error, the homeschooling became Abby's Place, which she, as I've said, is the founder of. Today, Danielle Zimmerman juggles working full-time, and sits on the board at Abby's Place, a not-for-profit organization for special children in Coral Springs, Florida. She has a passion to help other families who are raising a child with special needs with services or advocacy. So, like I said, if you have any questions for us, please feel free to call in at 888-565-1470. And we're just going to start talking, I think, just about being a mom of a special needs child, and how challenging it is. I think I've discussed in some of my other programs that I have 2 special needs children, one with Asperger's and the other with type 1 diabetes. And so we have the medical, and then we have the developmental. And it's quite a challenge. And I know we were sharing story after story, and I know a lot of other parents will identify with us. But why don't you tell us a little bit about your daughter and how you relate to her, and just talk a little bit from a mommy's perspective, what life is like.
Yeah, Abigail is a joy. She's got quite a personality on her. She takes after her father. She likes to make everybody laugh. So if I ask her a question, sometimes she'll purposely give me the wrong answer just to kind of see what kind of reaction, see if you're going to catch her, off guard and start giggling. But she's just, she actually could be very lazy if I let her. But I do push her a little bit beyond. And it's paid off. It's definitely paid off. She's accomplished more than we ever thought she'd accomplish. We just had surgery 2 years ago. She had back surgery for scoliosis and had 2 rods put in her back. And I am now to the point where I'm walking with her just holding like one finger. I never thought in my wildest dreams she could do that. I thought she would definitely be in a wheelchair or in a walker. But I every day she amazes me. She does.
It's a mommy moment. I call it a mommy moment. It's like the day that my son used a napkin. Like, he was actually, I would say he was probably like 8 or 9 when he just picked it up and used it himself. And not that he wasn't capable, because physically he's capable. It's just he didn't care that he had food on his face. But I get it, because when your child has those moments where they reach these goals that you never think they could reach before, that they were able to reach, it's just a kind of, you just get chills and you jump up and down inside. You just, oh my God, I can't believe it.
I know we were talking a little bit earlier, but I think it's not having that expectation is sometimes nice, and not, saying, oh, my child's going to do this or my child's going to do that, and then not have your child do that, and then you're deflated.
Yeah.
So now I didn't have the expectation that she could do it, and she can do it. So your enthusiasm and your mommy proudness is triple when you don't have that expectation.
Yeah. I think it's hard, though, because I think a lot of parents with special needs, as we were talking before, when your child is born, you have this expectation that they're going to one day become president or rule the world, or just be
the best.
Yes, the best at whatever it is. And then when you realize that they have some type of a special need, all of a sudden you feel deflated. I think it's just a natural occurrence. Is, oh my God, you mean they're not? My son, my prodigal son, who's reading, before he's 1 year old, has a problem. You mean he's not sharing the toys with the other kid? No, it can't be my kid. It can't be my kid. And you just start to think, well, what's not right? Oh my God, I have to work harder at this. I really have to get them up to speed. It can't be.
Right.
And so our expectations are up here, but their baseline, the reality of where they're at, is here. So we have this huge gap of disappointment in between. Mm-hmm. So we have the expectations and we have reality. And I think that our children feel it too. Yeah. They feel like they want to please us and they want to succeed for us, but they're limited as well. So I think the child constantly feels like they're disappointing us as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And, it's none of us are perfect. That's really the bottom line. I know I'm not perfect. Mm-hmm. I have tons of faults. I'm sure my husband listening will vouch.
We won't take his call if he calls in, so don't call him, Brett. You're not allowed.
But I mean, that's really, none of us are perfect. So we got to love everybody for who they really are, and don't judge. It's just, it is what it is. Every day we try to be the best of who we could be. And, obviously some people have better, you have your strengths and your weaknesses. Okay, well, let's highlight our strengths. And what I like to do is I like to partner with people with my weaknesses. Mm-hmm. Make that team effort. Look, Google, Apple, I'm sure the best businesses of the world, that's exactly what they do. Mm-hmm. If they don't have the right team member, they're going to add on the right team member.
Yes. Yeah. So you have to know where your strengths are, I think is what you're saying, and accept what your weaknesses are, and pull in from other resources where you're just almost delegating in a way. Mm-hmm. You're delegating what you can't do or what's challenging for you,
or learn from others. I'm really big in therapy. Occupational therapy and speech therapy and behavioral therapy and physical therapy. And I've been a sponge all these years, just learning from all these wonderful people. And I now can probably rattle off any treatment, or sometimes even I could look at a diagnosis and say, oh yeah, okay, let's do this, let's do that, because I've learned from such great teachers. So I think that's also important too, to have that part of your team. Sometimes when you're raising a child with special needs, you need those team members that you can learn from.
Right.
I say I'm a very trained behavioralist. I'm not certified, but I've been trained. I've been trained for years and years and years of being a behavioralist. To almost, it's a way of life now.
You kind of get it. Yeah. You get it when you're around it so much. I know when I was reading your story, we were talking about when you walked into school and you had these expectations for what it was going to be like, and then your expectations were not met, and you had the ability to homeschool your daughter, which is, it's just such a gift. And then to be able to start Abby's Place to kind of almost homeschool other people's children as well, to help them, which is amazing. But not everybody has that opportunity, and I know that when you have a child with special needs, sometimes you feel that, I guess you sometimes feel so appreciative of what you get that your expectations of as a parent are so low that you say, oh my God, my child is so involved and needs so many services or needs so much help, or maybe they have a behavioral problem, and you're so appreciative that they're just keeping them in the school that you, as a parent, your expectations are so low that you, I guess, in a way, tolerate what they give you. And you sometimes in your heart, you know that it's not right or that it's not enough, and that you feel uncomfortable. Parents don't know what to ask for. They don't know how to get what they need. There are different programs, different scholarships, different things available. If you're in the public school system, you could pretty much walk in there and say, this is what my child needs and this is what it's appropriate for learning. And they have to find a way to make those types of accommodations. But a lot of parents don't know, or sometimes are very intimidated sitting at IEP or 504 meetings, because you're sitting across a room across a table from professionals, OTs, like you said, speech therapists, behavioral people, interventionalists. You're sitting across from psychologists. You're sitting across from school personnel. And it's almost like, well, they're supposed to be telling me, but sometimes they don't. And sometimes they don't give you what you need. Yeah. And talk a little bit about advocacy, because I know you do that as well.
So, well, Abby's Place is definitely a love. It's a love of mine. It's my ability to be out there to help families. They come to me. I give free consultations. Just email me or call me. And
how do they do that? Tell them.
You go to my website, abbysplace.org. And you can email me, and I'll call you, or I'll email you back, and we can set up a tour and a meeting. And it's just as simple as that. Just give me an hour of your time, and I'll try to help shed light on whatever situation you're having. And that's kind of my thing. I love doing it. I donate all of my time doing that. But there are a lot of choices. And I've been in Florida my whole life. I'm a Floridian. So, and I've now have definitely immersed myself in learning more about the Department of Education and what Florida has to offer. FloridaSchoolChoice.org. If you don't know about it, please jump on there. It's a great resource. Our state is amazing in that it gives us the ability to choose. Do we want public? Do we want private? Do we want a homeschool? Do we want virtual school? There's lots and lots of choices out there. There really are. Now, what you were talking about is the Individual Disability Education Act. So that is a federal law that if you are in the public school system, they must meet your needs. Absolutely. And you get free public education, least restrictive environment. You do want a least restrictive environment, but you want the right environment regardless. Sometimes a child does need a little bit more restrictive environment to meet their needs, and other children need the least restrictive. It depends on their need. So we created Abby's Place for children that need a little bit more. Our ratio is very low.
What is it?
We have, most of the time, it's a 1-to-1 if we have a child that's really involved. Kids that can operate on a 1-to-2 ratio. Obviously, you want them working at the least restrictive environment. So if they can handle a 1-to-2 ratio, that's great. If they can handle a 1-to-3 ratio, even better. A 1-to-4 ratio, great. Once I can get to a 1-to-6 ratio, that's phenomenal. Then you're really hitting what I would consider a nice number. The typical for the adult community, it's a 1-to-10 ratio. Like if you're to be part of a day program for an adult, you want a 1-to-10 ratio. So that kind of gives you a ballpark of where we want them to get. We want them to get to the 1-to-10 ratio eventually. Sometimes they need just a little bit of extra guidance and practice to get there, but that's the ultimate goal.
So you have OTs, PTs, speech therapists, behavioral interventionists, everybody kind of in there at the same time, working with the children.
It's a very interdisciplinary approach. We come at that child from every different angle, and it can intertwine techniques, intertwine curriculums. We can use a behavioral approach. There's floor time approaches. There's being able to look at different processing issues. A lot of kids have some processing issues, whether it's auditory, speech, sensory. So we can cater to that. Our OTs and our speech therapists are phenomenal when it comes to that. I wanted to bring my OT tonight, Michelle, and because she's just phenomenal when it comes down to.
We'll have to have you as a guest again.
She was busy, but when you come down to the sensory processing, the SPD is a diagnosis that you'll hear.
Yeah, it's actually not a real diagnosis. You can't bill for that. Technically, we were talking about it. That was actually my first show. We were talking about sensory processing disorder, and it's not in the DSM, so you can't bill for it. It's not a disorder that you can bill for, but it's a real disorder.
Thing. It is a real thing.
It is a real thing. So
and it affects a lot of these kids from head to toe.
Yeah.
And everything that they're doing. It affects them, whether they can sit in a classroom and learn. Mm-hmm. So we actually use a sensory diet program where we can intertwine that throughout the day. So if a child does need a little bit of a sensory program before they can sit down at a table and do work time, we will give that.
So you do things like work on large muscle groups and small and brushing and oral motor and all of that stuff, so then they could sit and focus, because when a child is dealing with sensory issues, it's hard for them to sit and have some quiet time or focus time. So you want to kind of stimulate all the muscles, get them moving, and then they're able to just sit and relax. And it's super effective.
It is. It's become a way of life for me. We went to dinner on Friday night to Anthony Coal Fire Pizza. And it's a great place. The food's great, but they got music, they got TVs, they got so much going on. It's Friday night. And my poor daughter, she was just all over the place. I could not get her to eat for anything because she was just TV and music and, oh, look at that person and look at that person. Oh, and look, she's got a blingy shirt on. And, there was so much. And I love the people in Coral Springs at Anthony Coal Fire. They were so patient. Friday night, I take up a 7-person table for almost 2 hours because I needed to get her to eat. So literally right there in the restaurant, I'm doing drills. And I do Simon Says drills. And I'm just doing Simon Says drills, working on the auditory processing because sensory was so overloaded and I just needed her to focus. And after about 30 minutes of me running these drills with her, I finally got her to look at me, pay attention, and eat. It's just a way of life.
Yeah.
But it's what works for our kids. Yeah. They need it.
They need it.
They need it.
They do. And you get it. And you get it. But you were okay with taking that half an hour where a lot of parents would feel embarrassed or feel like they need to pull their kid out or get angry or yell at their kid. We've all seen it. We've seen it with typically developing children. And
forget
so
them.
But it's hard. It's a hard thing when your child doesn't kind of fit in the groove that you need them to fit into in the moment. and we become frustrated ourselves because it's like, oh gosh, wait, they need us to order. Wait, you mean we can't order? We can't even eat. Oh my God, should we leave? All these thoughts cross your mind.
So,
what should we do?
Don't sweat the small stuff.
Yeah.
Don't sweat the small stuff.
But you're a wonderful example of just being able to go with it and not worrying about all the minutia going on around you, but just worrying about your child and making it work for her. And that's just what's so special, that I think all parents with special needs just need to make sure that their child is okay. And that they're kind of just in the space that they're at and making it be okay for them. And then you can worry about the outside world.
Yeah. And that's our life. It's our life. It's our bubble. And to each his own. I would never judge you for the way that you raise your family or the way that you enjoy the outside world. So to each his own. And I think that we do kind of get a little tense about the small stuff. So in my book, Challenged Life, I have a lot of different sayings in there. I'm very positive. I used to have a little, don't sweat the small stuff. Obviously the glass is always half full. I have all my little quirkiness.
Your little ditties.
Yeah, God gave me lemons. Let's make lemonade.
But it helps to get through because like we said, they weren't born the way we thought they would be. And I think it's even more of a wonderful gift, what we actually got rather than what we thought we were going to get, but it doesn't feel that way at first. And some days when you're sitting in that restaurant and, okay, I got to do it again. I got to do it again. Some days it's challenging. And as I think you and I are both very proactive, very involved, very supportive moms, but sometimes it just gets to you. You say, oh, not again. When I see my son going into his room and having a meltdown, or something happens at school, or I just left him earlier and he says, Mommy, I'm just not feeling well and I have this thing I have to do that's due tomorrow morning. My anxiety kicks up and, I told him he should have worked on it on Saturday. That's going through my mind. And he should have worked on it on Sunday. And they had off today, for school. So he decided to work on it today. But there's always some type of a crisis that comes in. And you have to just kind of take a step back and say, let's just let them be. And it's very challenging as a parent.
Or I was going to say that was a teachable moment, too. It was a teachable moment to teach our kids how to problem solve and how to cope. I know you guys know, teenagers right now, suicide rate is extremely high. We need to teach our kids how to cope. So, okay, they're stressed out. Okay, let's talk it through. Tell me, what are you feeling? What are you thinking? What's the worst thing that can happen right now? And my son, what's the worst thing that can happen right now? I don't know. Yeah, I love that. I don't know. And I'm like, come on, no. What do you think? You're going to get an F? You're going to have to beg for forgiveness. Maybe you should send an email to your teacher and say, listen, this happened. Can I get an extra, 12-hour extension? We all do it. We do it in work all the time. It's teaching them to cope and think, okay, what is the worst case scenario here?
You want to come home with me? Because it's hard. It's very easy to problem solve when it's not yours.
Yeah. And when
it's
in the moment,
yours and you're in that crisis, because I know I'm going home to it, and I also have to take my other son to hockey. So we think about like how life gets in the way of, or it just it doesn't get in the way, but there are so many challenges that we face on a daily basis that our child with special needs and their challenges, we almost have to kind of plan for it and prepare for it, although you never can. But it's really, really hard. Yeah. And those coping skills that you were talking about and the teachable moments are really great, but it's challenging to do, like you said, when you're in the moment with your child and you want them to be successful.
Take that breath.
Yes.
And, that's the other thing is a lot of our kids, they feed off of our inners, I say. So when you feel your inners having a little jitteriness and you're feeling a little anxiety yourself, take that deep breath and calm yourself, and your child's going to feel it too. And that's one thing. I also I do a lot of training with professionals and teachers and therapists. So that's one of the techniques I do teach them. Just remember to keep yourself calm. So if you have to take that breath, take that breath.
Yeah.
So
we have about 2 minutes left, but Danielle, what I would like to also get across is your school is a not-for-profit.
Yes.
And I know that any donation helps
Yes.
To keep it going. I know you shared with me that you fund a lot of it yourself. So just being, you and your husband are just selfless in the way that you give, which is wonderful. But if somebody wants to donate, just give us a 5-second on how to do it.
Our website is great. You can go on there. You could be anonymous. Or if you'd like to share your information with us. I am very much of a giver, so it is hard for me to receive. So when we receive, I want to give back. So we do have gifts. We have naming opportunities. So yeah, go to abbysplace.org.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So join us next week, 6 to 6:30, Monday night. Thank you so much for being here, Danielle. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I can do this every night.
Yeah.
Thank you for tuning into Different Like Me Culture with Alyse November. Join us every Monday at 6 p.m. Call 561-270-2280 for more information. And tune in again next week for more Different Like Me Culture.